82. The third thought sutra of the 12th responsive 40 sutras. Residing in Shrivasthi. Bhikkhus, if you have thoughts, plans, or latent tendencies, this becomes a dwelling place for consciousness. When there is a dwelling place, consciousness can establish itself. When consciousness is established and grows, inclinations arise. With inclinations, there is coming and going. With coming and going, there is death and rebirth. With death and rebirth, there will be birth, aging, death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair in the future. Thus, this entire mass of suffering comes into being. Bhikkhus, even if you do not think or plan, but if there are latent tendencies, this also becomes a dwelling place for consciousness. When there is a dwelling place, consciousness can establish itself. When consciousness is established and grows, inclinations arise. With inclinations, there is coming and going. With coming and going, there is death and rebirth. With death and rebirth, there will be birth, aging, death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair in the future. Thus, this entire mass of suffering comes into being. However, Bhikkhus, when you do not think, do not plan, and have no latent tendencies, there is no dwelling place for consciousness. Without a dwelling place, consciousness cannot establish itself. When consciousness is not established and does not grow, inclinations do not arise. Without inclinations, there is no coming and going. Without coming and going, there is no death and rebirth. Without death and rebirth, future birth, aging, death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair cease. Thus, this entire mass of suffering comes to an end. Let me provide a deep analysis of this profound Buddhist teaching. The causal chain of consciousness and suffering, an analysis of profound Buddhist wisdom. Background of the Sutra. This passage is from the Buddha's teaching in Shrivasthi, explaining the profound mechanism of how consciousness leads to the cycle of rebirth and suffering, as well as the method of liberation. 2. Analysis of core concepts. 1. 3 dwelling places of consciousness. The text reveals 3 conditions for consciousness to establish itself. Thinking, active mental activity. Planning, purposeful scheming. Latent tendencies, habitual patterns in the subconscious. 2. Unfolding of the causal chain. The text depicts a complete causal chain. Dwelling place of consciousness establishment, of consciousness growth of consciousness, arising of inclinations coming and going death and rebirth mass of suffering. 3. Specific manifestations of suffering. The suffering mentioned in the text includes birth, aging, death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, despair. 3. Deeper insights. 1. The power of consciousness. This sutra reveals the decisive influence of conscious activity on one's life destiny. Even unconsciously, our thought patterns and potential tendencies shape our future. This reminds us to pay special attention to our mental activities. 2. The influence of habitual patterns. Even when not actively thinking or planning, latent habitual patterns can still become a dwelling place for consciousness. This reveals the powerful force of habits. It tells us that true change needs to reach the subconscious level. 3. The path to liberation. The text finally points out the method to cease suffering, not thinking, not planning, and having no latent tendencies. This is not advocating for thoughtlessness, but points towards transcending attached thinking, letting go of attached planning, purifying latent habitual patterns. 4. Implications for modern life. 1. Mental health perspective. Reminds us to pay attention to the impact of thought patterns on mental health. Points out the importance of changing subconscious patterns. Reveals the importance of inner peace. 2. Guidance for life practice. Cultivate awareness. Pay attention to daily thought patterns. Regularly reflect and examine inner tendencies. Purify latent habits through mindfulness practice. Conclusion. This passage is not just religious doctrine, but a profound insight into the workings of the mind. It tells us that the key to changing destiny lies not in the external, but in transforming inner consciousness and habits. This wisdom has important guiding significance for modern people seeking spiritual growth and life happiness. To truly benefit from this wisdom, we need to 1. Cultivate self-awareness. 2. Continuously purify thoughts. 3. Transcend attached tendencies. 4. Maintain inner clarity. Through such practice, we can gradually reduce the roots of suffering and attain true freedom and liberation. Let me analyze the core essence of this Buddhist teaching. This passage expounds a profound philosophy, the relationship between consciousness and suffering. I have already provided a complete interpretation in the detailed analysis above. Now, let me summarize a few key insights for you. 1. The power of consciousness. This passage reveals an important truth. Our conscious activities determine our lives. Whether it's active thinking or subconscious tendencies, they're constantly shaping our destiny. This reminds us to pay extra attention to our thoughts. 2. The importance of habitual patterns. Even without thinking or planning, the latent tendencies in our hearts will affect our life journey. This indicates that true change must touch the habits deep in our hearts. 3. The wisdom of liberation. The text points out that the key to breaking the cycle of suffering lies in purifying consciousness. This is not asking us to stop thinking, but guiding us to transcend attachments and gain true freedom. 4. The importance of awareness. This teaching inspires us to cultivate awareness, constantly observing our own thoughts. Only by maintaining clear awareness can we see and change those patterns that lead to suffering.